Hello, everybody. Hope you're doing fantastically well. It is Connor here, and we are back with another episode of One Leeds, and it is your Southampton preview. Yes, we haven't been on the channel for a couple of days now. Believe it or not, sometimes I do need a little bit of rest, but here we are. We're back with it. We've had Ralph Hasenhüttl's press conference. We've had Jesse Marsh's press conference. Sorry. And when it comes to team news, it doesn't look like anything major from the Southampton side, really. Obviously, the major boys that have been out have come back into contention. And with regards to Leeds United, it does look like, obviously, Patrick Bamford is going to be out for the next 6 weeks. So Leeds United are going to have to plan for that. So what do we do? That's the big question. From Jesse Marsh's press conferences, obviously we haven't done the reaction to Jesse Marsh's press conference this week on One Leeds Fan Channel, but it seems like he's going to go with Joe Gelhardt. The reason I say that is because he was asked about Dan James, didn't go into that much detail on Dan James in terms of the striker, the number 9, but he did say that he's a terror for defences, he's a brilliant player in terms of the press. But he did mention Joe Gelhardt, and he said that he is going to be a big player for us in the running. What does this absolutely scream to you? It screams horrendous recruitment last summer, horrendous recruitment in the winter window. Leeds United almost above a central midfielder at the in the next coming 4 or 5 months. Have to get a striker. Resting on our laurels way too much in terms of squad depth. So overall, it's not a bad picture for Leeds. It looks like Leo Yelder is still going to be absent from this game. Jamie Shackleton, Lewis Bate. But the main figures are going to be back. The main figures are going to be there and waiting to play for Leeds in terms of Calvin Phillips, in terms of Liam Cooper. Jesse Marsh has said that he doesn't think that he's going to start both, and he doesn't think that both are consequently going to play 90 minutes. So that, for me, strikes out that obviously neither of them are going to play 90 minutes. One player might play 70 minutes. That's what I'm looking at, to be honest, for this game. It's a huge game for Leeds. Absolutely pivotal game as well. The last time I remember us being on this sort of run in terms of us getting a couple of wins under our belt this season and having that opportunity to really take that next step, which was Newcastle at home, obviously Leeds consequently losing, was the wins against Burnley, the win against West Ham United. Leeds weren't able to hit the ignition. Leeds weren't able to step on the pedal and really get ourselves out of trouble. I think that would have obviously been 9 points out of 9. It would have further compounded Newcastle's misery at the time. Obviously, Newcastle at that moment were on, I think they conceded 46 away from home. They hadn't won an away game in a ridiculous amount of times. They hadn't kept a clean sheet in a ridiculous span as well. So overall, it was a bad result for Leeds, and it was at Ellen Road, and the pressure was on. I don't almost think the pressure is on, but I think the pressure's on in a weird way for Leeds for this one, because this is the game where you're looking at every single other fixture in and around us. Burnley having Man City, Watford having Liverpool, Everton having West Ham away. These are games which, in my opinion, these teams aren't going to win. So ultimately, if Leeds are able to get that win and extend that buffer, for me, if I'm being honest with you guys, if Leeds get the win this weekend, I think we're as good as safe. I think that's us done. Poison chalice, you might say, but I don't think there are any teams down there getting 35 points and north. And I think there's probably another 3 points in it for us after the Southampton game with 7 games remaining. It is pivotal, though, because you look at these next 2 games and they are big. Watford have lost 8 on the bounce at home. Southampton have lost 4 on the bounce, and Leeds normally are the trend breakers. You look at Everton, they were on an awful run before they played Leeds. Newcastle on an awful run before they played Leeds. And Southampton, who were on an awful run last time when they played Leeds. So we have to book that trend. The difference last time was obviously Leeds didn't have Rafinha, they didn't have Phillips, they didn't have, I believe, Cooper as well. So it's going to be a very, very different Leeds United, but booking that trend is key, and really stepping on that ignition at the minute and sort of firing ourselves away from the relegation zone is absolutely key this weekend. So what do I think? I still think it's going to be a really tough game. I'll be honest with you. I've watched Southampton a number of times, including the Man City loss, which I think was so harsh, it's untrue. On a knife edge on a penalty decision again, which seems to be going for Man City at the minute. But overall, I think it's going to be a really, really tough game, a war of attrition. I don't think Southampton are on the beach yet, and I think that's because, as Ralph Hasenhüttl has said, he wants the team to finish in the top 10, because when you finish in the top 10, you're able to have so many opportunities in terms of players coming in, wage structure, wage structure. As I've said just earlier on as well, the attraction of the club, which is where, for me, when we finished ninth in the table, and we didn't go out there and really press on the action in terms of summer acquisitions when we just finished ninth in the top 10 of the Premier League, it was a massive miss for Leeds, but that's a conversation for another day. I look at Southampton and they play a variation of a couple of systems, but they are honed in on the 4-2-2-2. They can adapt. Marsh's system, Marsh has been in the Red Bull network with Hasenhüttl before. He spoke about that in his press conference earlier on this week. The systems aren't too similar. Obviously, the 4-2-2-2, but both are pragmatic, both do adapt. We've seen with Jesse Marsh that he's been playing more of a 4-2-3-1 system with Leeds, which incorporates the Bielsa-isms, obviously that wide play. And there have been successes with that wide play. You know, you look at the goals at Wolves, Luke Ayling in particular, Rafinha's assist, against Norwich. So, yeah, I think this one's going to be a tough one. They've got quality players everywhere. Salisu at the back made us look stupid last time, and I do worry about that 9 option. Who's going to play up front? We've had Bamford for the first half of the Norwich game. We look like a completely different side. Norwich should have been 5-0 down by the whistle, and we've not really seen that. We've not really seen that style of performance all season, and I'll incorporate Watford. I'll incorporate Burnley in that, because I think they were still nip and tuck, really. That first half against Norwich, Leeds were brilliant, and it's Patrick Bamford, isn't it? You know, you look at the first 10, 15 minutes of the Wolves game. We all talk about how bad Leeds were that first half. We still had a couple of chances. Bamford should have put us 1-0 up. So having him up there is the focal point. And you saw when Bamford went off against Norwich and against Wolves, how Leeds really dropped off. And that worries me, because I think they've got commanding centre-backs. They replaced Vestergaard really well in Salisu. And obviously, Bednarek's been there for a number of years now. I don't know if Kyle Walker-Peters is going to be available. He might be an absentee from this one. But, you know, their fullback options are very, very good. Very, very good. Livramento. And then you look at Romain Perrault, who Leeds were linked with. Kyle Walker-Peters, if he is fit. They have got players and they have got strength in depth. But they have also lost 4 on the bounce. And it's a very, very winnable game for Leeds United. Now, after these 2 games, I mentioned earlier on that Watford have lost 8 on the bounce, and Leeds need to book that trend in terms of giving teams that ability to sort of break that habit. Southampton and Watford are huge, everybody. They are huge, because then we go into 4 games which are extremely tough. Arsenal, City and Chelsea, all within that 4, including a ridiculously tough trip to Crystal Palace, who have only lost 3 at home all season. So we do need points in the next 2, and there will be questions asked if Leeds haven't got points. My opinion, 4 points minimum out of these next 2. There will be questions asked. I'm still not convinced at the minute with how the players are playing. I still think they're a little bit, I don't know if burnt out's a lazy way of putting it, but they look done with this season. Even if they have got the last 2 wins, I still think, you know, the Norwich last-minute winner, the fight, determination and grit in the Wolves' performance was absolutely superb to see. But overall, that first half, Leeds were abysmal. Villa, obviously, awful. Leicester, good in bouts, but we did lose the game. So it's a bit of a mixed bag at the minute. I don't really know what to expect. I'd love to see a brilliant performance. I don't think we've seen a 90-minute performance from Leeds all season. We saw numerous 90-minute performances last season, but I just don't know what to expect. As I said, guys, we do seem to be the trend bookers in terms of if a team hasn't got points, if a team is on a losing streak, as I've mentioned before, Southampton, Newcastle, Everton, Leeds seem to be able to sort of help other clubs out. And I do look at Southampton and I think last time they pressed us really high. You're going to get that with the Ralph system, pressing the centre-backs, pressing the full-backs, pressing as a unit, similarly to Jesse Marsh. And they're really refined in that system. Are Leeds going to be able to play through that? Do Leeds have that quality? I think Rodrigo's going to be huge again in terms of when we do find that man, when we have beaten that press, him being effective in that position. Rafinha not being wasteful, him being effective in that position. Dan James being effective in his position as well. I don't think we can afford to be wasteful. I really don't. You're going to see Joffrey dropping deep if he is starting in sort of that Harry Kane 10 role. So then it's all about the wingers getting into that sort of 9 and sort of 11 role as strikers, really, as you see with Lucas Moura and Heung-min Son when Harry Kane does drop deep. So it's huge. It's a huge, huge start to the next 8 games. Obviously, we played Southampton last time, another omen after we came back from the international break. But the Leeds players need to be able to show a reaction to that game, because that was still arguably the worst performance of the season. Leeds barely touched the ball. You've got to expect aggression, quality, because I know they've lost 4 on the bounce, but you pick some of those results apart, and especially the City game, it's never a 4-1 game. So aggression, quality, and they do have a press. So Leeds need to match that. We can't really be, in my opinion, it can't be a 7-8 out of 10 performance this from Leeds. Leeds have really got to be on song to be able to deal with Southampton and to be able to put them away. So yeah, I'm feeling a draw for this one. I'm feeling a 2-2 draw. Hopefully I'm wrong. Hopefully it is going to be a win. A 2-2 draw might still look good, because I still think the other 3 teams are going to lose, and that points gap is increasing and the games remaining are decreasing. But a win is huge, like it was when we played Newcastle at home and we couldn't get the victory. We need to start booking that trend, as I keep saying. 3 wins in the Premier League is very difficult, though, because pretty much every team is quality. But it'd be great to see it all coming together here. It really would. And we have got ultimately still more to fight for than Southampton. But it's going to be a tricky one, in my opinion, guys. I'm going to go with the 2-2. Let me know what you think in the comment section below, guys. I appreciate you tuning in. Sorry it's in a bit of a different setting. I've had things going on with the green screen. I'm going to have it up for the next video. Sorry it's been a bit late. Sorry if the content has dried up a little bit. Normally you get quite a lot of One Leeds content towards the back end of the week. But I appreciate you tuning in. Make sure you like